Okay, before I get back to this biface, I'm going to try something. I'm going to try cutting this bottle bottom like this to get two halves the long way and see if that works. Now, sometimes it doesn't work. It'll take the path of least resistance and cut that tip off. I'm going to see if it works. Yep, not too bad. All right. So I can probably get 2 arrowheads out of this instead of 1. And I might be able to do the same thing on the other side here. This one didn't get scored very well down here. It might not go. Let's see. Okay. All right, cool. All right. So really quickly, I'm going to go through and show how to take the curve out. I had that request, so let me try that. I try to do it quickly here. I got to remove the square edge first. Basically, it's just to thin primarily from the bottom here and from the bottom there, and then take a little bit off of the top here, and it should straighten out. Pretty straightforward stuff once you get used to it. My advice here is just be very careful when you're zigzagging this so you don't get any crushed edges. Oops. Alright, not a very good demonstration. I try to be a little more careful. Okay. Okay, so how do you get that curve out? Well, you're going to lose some length here. The thinner the final point, the easier it is to become straight. So what I'm going to do is, it already looks pretty straight up here, so I'll be taking most of it off of this side. Most of my material lengthwise off of this side here. To get it completely out, you got to have a thick piece. If you're trying to do the impossible with a small or a thin bottle bottom, you're just going to be disappointed. You can't really take the curve out of a thin piece. And it's not really necessary in many cases to get the curve completely out. Now, if you think about it, if you're very cerebral about this, you want to use the best tactic possible, you might be able to bevel it. Instead of doing a zigzag, you might be able to bevel it. I haven't done the beveling, but you know, that requires a pressure technique, I think. But it can be beveled, and then if you have the bevel on the correct side, like if you chip this way, you know, chip that way, all the way down the edge, and get the bevel to move the edge that way, makes it easier for you to take flakes off here and here, right, to straighten it out. Once you got it straight, you can move the bevel anywhere you want. So I'm going to move this edge this way and this edge this way. I'm going to do everything with percussion because that's the fastest. I want to get this over with quickly so I can move on to something else. I really don't think about this all that much, so I don't really put bevels in it or approach it in a methodical way. I just kind of go for it and hope for the best. I've got like an hour here and there throughout my day. Sometimes 2 hours. I can't really be spending all day beveling and pressure flaking it perfectly. But you need to take flakes off like this from this bottom edge to begin straightening. Okay. Now, bottle glass is very high quality, so you should be able to get used to making long flakes on it. If you can't get long flakes on this type of glass, Focus on your technique. You know, practice those long flakes, whatever it takes. You know, focus exclusively on that. If you can't do it, you have to start focusing exclusively on that, or you'll be kind of lost. So it's basically straight, right? But the thing is, if you want to remove all of the surface on both sides, it's going to become curved again. So you have to make a decision. Do you want to leave some of that on there or not? If you don't want to leave any of this surface on here, you're going to have to nap this side first and make sure it's completely flat, and then work on the convex side, because this is the easy side. Okay, don't be working on the hard, difficult side last. Work on the easy side last. So if I want to remove all of this original surface, I got to do it first. So that's what I'll do. What I'm going to do is move the edge closer to that side all the way down. So, and then at the same time take care of any weird issues, any lumpiness or whatever that I messed up on the first pass. But don't get it too thin, because then you don't have room. You want to leave yourself some thickness. After you remove all this stuff, it's going to be pretty thin. I already want to get the general shape. Get the general shape in here. Start thinking about that soon. Should have done this earlier. When I did that side, I should have come all the way around and get the edge zigzagged all the way around. Be very careful, because it can snap, just like I snapped the other piece. And you can be very methodical and make sure you get most of the edge to go that way, because that's where you'll be sending in flakes in the next phase. But I just tend to be haphazard in the beginning stages, just to save time, and then I'll damage control later. And I got a suggestion to put talc powder on my arms, which is a very good idea. I don't know why I didn't think of it before. I've got plenty of talc powder. I just need to go ahead and do it. Get those glass shards to stop sticking. I still got the curve in here, right in here. But I'm going to try to thin down this tip here really thin. I'll probably lose some off the very tip, so I'm going to take that off right now just so I can get out of the way. I'm going to dull the areas that I don't need to work on right now. Just to keep, you know, these... I should dull everything. Let's see. What I was going to say is there's a lot of incipient cracks, right? So the duller this is around, the easier it is to preserve it from snapping. Any incipient cracks on the edges will expand and come across, especially in the middle. So when you're hitting the ends to thin them down, you'll snap it in the middle if there's lots of incipient cracks on the edges. Just something to keep in mind. Right, so I said I was going to remove this, the writing and all that stuff from this side first. So that's what I'm going to do. And again, if you can't do long flakes on this stuff, you're going to be lost. You're not going to achieve the results you want. You have to create long, shallow flakes, either with pressure or percussion. See those flakes? So you got to create that type of flaking. And they got to be shallow and long. Shallow because you don't want to get too thin. You got to leave yourself some room. I'm developing a series of step fractures here. I can probably get rid of it later, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm getting a little bit distracted here. The thing that's distracting me is trying to focus on a certain type of flake. I usually don't pay too much attention to that because I already know I got to create long, shallow flakes on the ends. I already know that through doing many of these. And if I have to think about the flaking too much, I tend to over control them and mess up somewhere. Like I took this one a little bit too deep on that side, on this edge, I mean. Still a little bit too deep. That one was better. You can see most of that stuff's gone now. There's a little bit of the original surface right there. Now sometimes I just leave those in, those surfaces, okay, and not worry about it from this stage. I still have a curve in it, so I'm going to have to lose a little bit more length. I can be a little more precise now with the pressure. Pressure flaking allows me to be a little more precise, since I got most of that lettering off and the bad spots off. But my goal is to make it flat, right, and maybe even a little bit convex. So I need to take more off of the tip. I still have it still rises up here. From this valley here, it still rises up, so I got to get rid of that. But I'm going to pressure flake to get the edge more regular and regularize everything. This is when I should be wearing 2 gloves. Let's see. It's kind of good that these are, you know, a little bit tight. Keeps the glass from going down in. You can see those glass shards right there, right? Periodically check, because there may be one that's really sharp that'll end up going in. All right. Really pointy, I mean. They're all sharp, but some are very pointy. All right. Let's see, where was I? Yeah. I need to remove more off the tip. I have that dilemma where I can't operate the camera with this glove on. Okay, let me see. If it goes out of focus, I need to be able to refocus the camera. All right, so I can do it with this one. Okay, so technically I should be pressure flaking downward this way. I started going this way just to get into the groove, but I got to be pressure flaking down this way to move the edge that way, to send flakes this way to flatten it. Now it may end up being extremely thin, but that's the goal. I got to flatten it first and maybe even a little convexity, and then I'll be good. And then I can just go to town and not worry about the rest of it. Where was I? I was not on that edge, I was on this edge. Doesn't need to be cosmetically perfect, it just needs to be flat or slightly convex. Alright, so within the limits of the thickness, because it's got to have some thickness to it, you can you're going to have to judge how long it's going to have to be to stay within the thickness and be flat, and so you don't have the curve in it. Alright, it's pretty flat now, but let me just get it perfect. I still need to remove a little bit more off of this side. One of those flakes hit me right in the face. I'm always concerned about where these glass flakes are going. Don't worry, I don't worry too much about the stone. I've had glass flakes in my hair and I hate that. As you know, that ends up wherever you're sitting or wherever you're lying down. And that's not good. Alright, just one more pass. No, I don't have time. Alright, so that's pretty much it for taking out the curve. I'm going to title this video "Taking Out the Curve." Okay, hopefully that helps. I'll continue this one in the next segment, but I just wanted to get that request done with first. Right, so this is, most of the curve is taken out, right? I still have to do cosmetic damage control on this face to get it nice, to get rid of that original surface and to get the flake pattern nice, but I'll be following the same principle. I'll take mainly off of these ends and then work on the middle, and once I have flatness or slight convexity, I work on the other side. Alright? Okay.